Are you frustrated with your sourdough baking? Or maybe you haven't even started because it just seems so complicated. Today, I'm going to show you a little method that helps you make sourdough the perfect partner for life. And let me tell you, for me, for most of my life, sourdough has been a mystery. I thought it's something for very health-conscious people, and it would make your bread quite healthy, but not really tasty and delicious. So I thought it would taste sour, albeit being very healthy. And that even lasted for some years into my baker journey until I finally discovered I just had no idea. If you're new to this channel, this is all about learning how to bake bread with a lot of joy while being authentic, personal, and cheerful. We're dealing with the question how to learn baking bread so that it's fun, that it brings you joy, that you won't get frustrated, and you stick with it. How to do that? Well, of course, you have to create conditions that make it work for you. You have to create the right conditions. It has to work for you, such that you don't lose the fun and you keep going, you're motivated and you want to do it, and you actually wake up and you can't wait to put your hands in that dough. And that's what I'm here to help you with. Maybe you've seen one of those videos where everything looks really perfect and wonderful, and at the same time, it's so easy. And then when you try the same thing at home, you have all those pictures in your head, like how good it feels, how great everything looked, and well, how easy it really was. But when you try it, it just doesn't work, and you actually feel like you failed. And that's exactly how I don't want you to feel. I want to take you with me in my completely normal, regular kitchen and bake with you and show you all the stuff that I do. What I'm not going to do is show you perfection so that you're impressed, but ultimately you're going to be frustrated. And by the way, baking, I can tell you, baking is not about perfection. It's about giving it your all, baking from the heart, and really discover a little bit of that baker inside of you each and every day. Sourdough shouldn't be missing on anybody's journey of discovering that passionate baker inside. And before we get into that little method that I'm going to show you in just a minute, let's quickly go through why baking with sourdough can be a source of frustration. When you create your starter, it might happen that this doesn't work as expected. You're mixing flour and water, and after a while, that's just exactly how it looks like. You mix flour and water. It doesn't rise, it doesn't show bubbles, it's just like dead. It could also happen that it smells extremely sour up to the point where it's flat out disgusting. Or sometimes you'll discover that it has gone bad and you need to discard it. Once you have successfully created your starter and it's active and happy, it could still happen that now you're going to bake your bread, but the dough is not rising as expected. Instead, it might be really hard and not fluffy at all. It could also be that the bread doesn't taste as good as you thought, or it might be really sour. And even once you've created your starter successfully, and you're using it to bake bread, it can still happen at some point that it has gone bad, and once again, you need to discard it. Another challenge for some people is that they don't know how to really integrate sourdough baking into their day-to-day life. They got a job, they maybe have different activities, so they get this sense that the sourdough or the bread is ready at a certain point, and that's when I need to be home. They don't really want to revolve their life around sourdough just so they're home whenever the sourdough is ready. So it seems like it might be a real challenge to bake with sourdough. And with all those challenges, it's easy to oversee just how wonderful it is baking with sourdough. What sourdough does is it increases the quality of your bread. You have a better taste and it lasts longer. Plus, the bioavailability of the nutrients is higher. Also, you're more independent. You don't need to go out shopping to the supermarket to buy commercial yeast. Instead, you have your own completely natural, homegrown product. Sourdough is a really great addition to your life. Not only to your life as a baker, but to your life overall. With just a little bit of care, you get a friend, a partner, a roommate for life. It's really not that much that you need to do, but you get so much in return. And it's a living being that, once again, you have the opportunity to take care of. And it's been proven that taking care of something and being there for something increases our happiness. It makes us happy. And last but not least, it adds quite a bit of excitement. You never quite know how fruity or sour it's gonna taste, how long exactly it's gonna take until it's risen to its peak, how exactly it's gonna smell, look like, are the bubbles larger or smaller. It's really a natural, spontaneous process, and it's very, very exciting to witness it and see the difference, sometimes due to things that you can control and sometimes due to circumstances that you cannot. Let's get into it. What is that method I've been talking about? It is about building a relationship to our sourdough and nurturing that. And how do we do that? We do that using a little routine. And when I say routine, I do not talk about feeding the starter once a week. I'm talking about feeding it every morning. Yes, that's right. Every morning. And I know that may sound like a lot, but in just a second I'm going to show you how to do that in under 2 minutes. You may have heard how a routine works. Because you do it every day, it gets easier by the day, until at some point you don't even think about it. Speaking of that, how do we start off with our routine? The answer is quite similar. We need to make everything around creating that routine as simple as possible. And that I'm going to show you right now. I recommend using equal parts of warm water and flour. I use 50 milliliters of warm water and 50 grams of flour. I add 10 grams of our starter right off the fridge, mix it, close the lid, and done. Now, to make this as easy as possible in the morning, I prepare everything that's possible already the night before. So it's sitting there waiting for me. If you are concerned about timing, you can actually adjust the time it takes for the sourdough starter to rise to its peak by 1, adjusting the temperature of the water, and 2, adjusting the amount of starter that you use to feed your new starter. If you like this advice and if you would like to learn more about sourdough and baking, consider subscribing to this channel, and maybe you also want to visit us on Facebook. Sourdough is a great addition to your life. You get a loyal friend, and it's really not asking for much in return. It should not be missing on anybody's journey of discovering that passionate baker inside. The little routine you learned today supports you on that journey. And every day it's going to get a little bit easier to get going with baking. And soon your motivation will skyrocket. After all, baking bread is one of the most rewarding activities you can possibly imagine.